Destroy the child. Corrupt them all.
Well, we've got to talk about Charlie Kirk, who's part of the America First except for Israel campaign, whatever. He was doing some talks and he just got lambasted. And his response to people asking about how can you put America first when we're spending billions of dollars in aid to Israel and they spy on us and they attack us, etc. His answers are straight out of a Frank Luntz playbook, How to Lie, about the only democracy in the Middle East. And they're our greatest ally. And they're so LGBT that, yeah, they're so LGBT that homosexuals can't get married in Israel. And actually, Jews and non-Jews can't get married in Israel. They have laws forcing Jews to marry other Jews, and the Goyim have to stay with each other. There's no mixing, because this is a racial apartheid state of their self-alienating religion. I probably shouldn't have said the J word, because YouTube will throw this in the oven now, but I'm going to say it anyway and stick it on BitChute. So, he called the USS Liberty a conspiracy theory, even though the Israelis admit they attacked the Liberty. Their excuse is we thought it was an Egyptian ship, which it wasn't. And the signal intelligence proves they knew that, and it didn't matter. And one of the pilots actually refused. So, whatever. It's not a conspiracy theory. His answer about military aid is, yeah, where's that military aid spent? Huh? It goes to American jobs. So, therefore, it's okay. Actually, 75% of it is recycled on weapons, but a lot of those jobs stay in Israel. They have the Israeli, not American, the Israeli Aerospace Industries, IAI, makes the wings for the F-35 and the hardened structures and all this other jazz. It costs billions of dollars. All of it stays in Israel. That might be why the F-35 is such a piece of shit and why it's so expensive, because they got to subsidize Israel's own military. But aside from that, if you pay for someone's defense, that frees them up to move the money they would have spent on defense on whatever they feel like. The other part is for security. So that huge apartheid wall that's not even on their border, that was paid for by the United States. Now, it's not on the demarcation line. It cuts into the West Bank and annexes territory between Israel's proper border and the wall. They just stole more land. So we helped pay for their annexation and a security fence. It's a giant freaking wall, though. Can't pay for our wall. That's $5 billion. But, hell, we give about $39 billion to Israel. 3.9 a year. So you could build a brand new wall every single year for what we give away to the Israelis. I digress. Whatever. They're the only country in the Middle East whose snipers are shooting kids in the balls. They're the only country in the Middle East that builds ethnic-specific colonies on top of houses they demolish with bulldozers. They're the only country in the Middle East that has the record number of child prisoners. They're the only country in the Middle East that has a racial apartheid state. They're the only country in the Middle East that can attack their neighbors and kill children without it being reported in the American news. They are, if there was anybody close to Israel, it's ISIS. You can't really distinguish their behaviors. Ethnic cleansing, religious fanaticism, all that, my way or the highway. That's ISIS, that's Israel, and the two get along swimmingly. They never attack each other. Israel's exclusively only attack the Syrian army or Syrian allies. They never go after Al-Qaeda. Because you don't bite the hand that feeds. Those are their own proxy forces. Israel did attack the Liberty. Israel did steal nuclear weapons from the United States. And by the way, it's against the Logan Act and many others for us to subsidize their conventional military when they have a nuclear capacity and they have not signed on to the Non-Proliferation Treaty. Because if you do that, they're able to free up resources that they would have spent on their conventional military, and they can spend it on their nuclear program, which they're not even supposed to have because they haven't signed on to the Non-Proliferation Treaty, and they won't even admit they have nukes, even though the whole world knows they do. Charlie Kirk got reamed, and I didn't have to lead the charge. There's all the people with all this great information that had it right and stuck it to him, and I hope they follow him around wherever he goes and he gets hit with the same questions. And you need to reply to his answers, though, because they're all BS. It's all Frank Luntz stuff, too. It's like, they're the only democracy. Same. It was so bad, right? He's clearly an Israeli firster, and that's what a lot of these cuck conservatives are. They're not for America first. They're for Israel first. We would not be in the Middle East without Israel. We wouldn't have gone to war in Iraq or Libya or Syria or have sanctions on Iran if not for Israeli pressure groups. We have wasted trillions of dollars on Israeli escapades. We're supporting a racial apartheid state with billions of dollars and losing trillions more to fight their wars for them, for their interests, against our own interests. So if you want to put America first and you want to have more money for domestic programs or whatever, stop fighting wars for Israel. End all aid to Israel. That's the most important thing. And I was so glad. It was a big white pill for me to see that I didn't have to go in there and explain it. Other people already were there. They had it. They had their facts straight. I can see we're making the impact. If Americans knew, Grant Smith, I dare say myself, Jeff Blankford, people like that, people have just been hitting it for a couple decades explaining this. Electric Intifada, of course. You know, this, people like Allison Weir, and that's starting to work. People got their talking points in order. They're not falling for the Hasbara baloney. And that just warms my heart. Because the truth can stand on its own. They need consistent lies, and they need to censor the other side from speaking. Because if you allow an even playing field at all, they lose. Because you just can't justify shooting kids in the balls or setting babies on fire. It's impossible. But that's how they behave. And so I will put this on YouTube, and I'm going to move it myself, because you're not allowed to say the 3-letter word that begins with a J, because anything you say about the Zionist state, which calls itself the J state, I don't call it that, well, you'll get censored on YouTube. And the Jared Holtz and the little tattletale culture, the cancel culture people, they'll be all over you. Shut it down, shut it down, shut it down, shut it down. Racist, 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 xenophobic, homophobic, sexist, sexist, sexist. And they'll just scream epithets until they get something removed. The censorship police. We're going to have Red Ice on later in the week. I was free Friday. They were unsure whether or not they were going to be. They're free Saturday. I'm not. So, but it'll happen. They've been censored. Agree or disagree with what they're saying, it doesn't matter. If you don't like what they're saying, change the channel. It's that easy. There's a lot of things on YouTube I don't want to watch. And you know what I do? I just don't watch it. It's that simple. You don't need to shut it down, everything. That doesn't prevent doubt and questions. It causes more. Okay? Just like certain events in history.
Make fun of me all you want. This is their plan, people. They're frickin' interdimensional invaders.